Hey guys, it's Megan. Welcome to one of our last videos ever in this library. Oh, and now it's echoey in here because there are no books. This is the back storage room, but there are no books anywhere in this library. So sorry for the echo. I did not realize that was going to be a thing until literally just now. So everybody's been asking me, Megan, how did you weed so many books this past year? I weeded approximately 2,700 books, I think. About 2,100 of them were nonfiction. So I thought I would specifically focus on nonfiction today and tell you how we weeded about half to 2/3 of our nonfiction collection. First, I want to tell you why we did it, and then we'll quickly skip into how we did it. So the why, first, I made sure that if a book, had not been checked out in 5 years, I'll show you how I looked up the statistics in a minute, but I figured if it's not been checked out in 5 years, why do we need it? Right? Like students are clearly not using it. So many of the books were very, very out of date. So if it was like cancer research from the 1990s, like it's not even going to be accurate. Or this book that I found, it was literally a series about like the pride of the different, decades, and each one had a picture on the spine of the book of somebody that was really famous of that decade. I was like, yeah, I don't think Bill Cosby's the pride of the 80s anymore. Not to mention books that look like this. Found that. Yeah, that was a whole thing. I don't know if it was, I think like something sticky maybe had gotten on the edges of it, and then a bug or some kind of bugs got in there and like built some stuff, and this was the stuff they left behind after eating the stuff from the pages. I don't know. That's what we kind of figured out that it was. I literally had to ask a science teacher what the heck this was. Did I need to worry about bugs on my books? So books that were in really bad condition, books that were old, books that had not circulated in 5 years. We're also moving to a new school in the fall. If you don't know, I'm doing a whole process of moving. Everything's boxed up, ready to go. This is one of the last videos I'll film literally in this library. I'll be in a whole new space very soon. It'll be so pretty and state of the art. And I didn't want old junky books junking up the new library. I also know I'm thinking I'm gonna have fewer shelves in the new library, and I wanna do more dynamic shelving, especially with the fiction section. So the nonfiction can kind of be consolidated into fewer shelves than we have now. And especially once I weeded, I knew that I would just have a lot more room for more stuff at the new school if I got rid of a bunch of the old crap. Also, this last, 2 years? Yeah, the last 2 years, my school has been one-to-one with Chromebooks now. So I know that the students have access to all of our databases and things online, and that they have all of this nonfiction, information, but in a much more updated format because, everybody uses the internet for research now, obviously. A lot of these books were purchased before the internet was like a thing. So I tell myself that the kids have these databases that have better info, more updated info, and they have these same resources. So when I had to get rid of each one, I was like, oh, I don't think I can get rid of this one. Oh, wait, there's something more updated out there. It's fine. We have access to the resources. They're just digital now. So we have more room on the shelves for things like true crime and like more updated biographies and things that like the students are really actually interested in. And of course, teachers don't really have students checking out nonfiction as much either. A lot of our English department requires them to check out a fiction book every month for their monthly independent reading project. Sometimes they'll let them choose nonfiction, but since it's not like always an option, like our nonfiction just doesn't get checked out that much. So let's move on now to those are all the different whys. Now let's do the hows. How did I weed so many books in a short amount of time? That was the other thing. I had like, I don't know. I did some of this in like just a few days. Some of it took a little longer, but you can do this in a relatively quick amount of time if you need to, because I kind of had to. So that's what I did. First, you've probably heard of musty here. I literally printed this out and used it. If a book is misleading, ugly, if it's been superseded by a newer edition, if it's trivial and not really of any importance or poorly written, if it's irrelevant, or if you can find the material elsewhere. This was kind of just like always in the back of my mind when I was weeding. I didn't like sit here and go through all these criteria each time, but I just kind of considered them in the process. Hardest part of getting started though with weeding was realizing how many books I was going to have to weed. I just had to commit. Either I weeded very little or I was going to have to weed a ton. I knew it was going to be 2,000 plus books if I did that, and I committed. I was like, okay, I just have to do it. And I really tried to channel Marie Kondo because I read her book last year about, decluttering and sparking joy and all that. And I was like, if holding this book does not spark joy in the hands of me or my students or someone, it's going. We're tossing it out. And if it's been not checked out in 5 years, it's probably not sparking joy very often. So just tell yourself it's okay. You can do it. Breathe. Get rid of them. It's fine. And the last little piece of advice before I actually really started this process, James Allen, who is the state librarian lead at the Kentucky Department of Education, he's kind of in charge of like all librarians in the state, sort of. He said, and I will read you his quote. He said, weeding's hard. He says, I also like to honor the perspective that books are simply long-term consumables. As long as you follow district policies, I would not stress too much, like about what you do with books after you've weeded them, like getting rid of them and stuff. But the fact that they are long-term consumables and it's okay to get rid of them, and that just changed my entire perspective, because I felt like I could get rid of them now and it was okay. Even if I had to throw them in a dumpster, things would be okay, because they outlived their usefulness. They had their purpose. They served their purpose at the time, and now they've been consumed. They're done. Welcome back to the me recording my screen portion of this. Sorry, I have to do it this janky way. I mean, I could do a screen recording, but it would just take a lot more time and I just don't want to. So here's basically what I did. I'm going to show you is how to get a list of all of your books by like sub-location, like what genre or what section they're in or whatever, and how to see how many times they've been checked out in the last 5 years so that you can do all of this by sitting and not having to look at each book and be out there on the shelves. It turns out you can do this all from your computer and then just go out and pull the books that you want. So what I did is I went to reports right here. Then I went to library reports. Oh, turn that off. Don't need that. Thank you. Okay, then I went to, let's see, hold on, I'm looking at my list. Shelf, okay, library reports. Okay, then right here, shelf list copies in the order they should be shelved, but you can do details on it. So right here, I'm going to include all call numbers. That's fine. Count circulations from, and you could do the last 5 years, but you could also take COVID into account if you want. I did not because I thought it kind of just didn't really matter. And for us before COVID, the year before that, we were all one giant school before we split into 2 different high schools. So I thought the numbers would be thrown off and make it look like they were being checked out more than they were. So I'm just going to keep, you just got to keep, there's a lot of clicking. I wish that you could just type in a date. If you could just input a date, but no, I've not figured that out. If anybody else has, let me know, because all I know is that you have to click and 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 click. Just for you guys, I clicked all the way back to May of 2019 because it's May of 2024. So let's just do May 1st to today. That's fine, sure. Okay, and then you want to do to today or whatever you want to do, obviously, it's fine. I don't care about date acquired or whatever. Sublocate out here, update sublocations. I did it by, look, here's our genres that we have in our library, our sublocations. I'm going to clear this. So you can just click clear all, which is really handy. And then the first one I have is arts and humanities. Then I did like classics or biographies. Then I did, what's next? Health. So I just kind of did all just the nonfiction. So let's just do arts and humanities just for fun. Okay, that's selected. Then here, you can either show price or publication year. And I've been doing publication year, so I can also see how old the book is. I'd highly recommend that because then you can know, hey, actually, the book only came out like 3 years ago, so therefore, I could have a little bit more time to promote it or whatever. Or you could see if it's super duper old. Maybe it's checked out a lot, but it's also super old. Now you could do, you don't have to do 5 checkouts like I did. I did 5 checkouts, 5 years. You don't have to, you could do even fewer years if you wanted, or go by more how old the book is versus how many checkouts, or whatever you want to do. But right here, here's your report. And this, I printed it out, even though it's a lot of pages because I had to be able to highlight. I did do 2-sided, so at least I kind of tried to save some paper. Like, how many pages is this thing? Why does it not tell? 5 pages, 70 circulations in 5 years for all of our arts and humanities books. Now these are the ones that are left, and you can see there are still some that have 0, and there was like a reason why we saved them for some reason. I don't know. Who knows why? Maybe they were actually lost and returned later, and I just didn't get to even do them in this process, which is part of it too. I tried to do this without all the books being returned, but like most of them were returned. As you can see, there's still quite a few with 0. Why are there 0? These are really old books. Crafts. Oh, I put these. Okay, these didn't used to be in art. These Aztec and Roman and stuff like that. These were all in like our social studies books. And I thought, people that want social studies are not probably coming here to look for the crafts. But if I put them in art, maybe people would actually check them out. I don't know. We'll see. That's just an example of me moving some things. So here you can just see, it tells you where the book is. It tells you the year it was published, the date that you acquired it. So I wouldn't get rid of anything that was like super new, like how to draw anime I just got in 2023. So I definitely wouldn't get rid of that even if it had 0 checkouts. And then it tells you your, oh wow, look, this book is still out. Lost. Right here, circulations. And then I just highlighted every single one pretty much that had 0, unless there was a reason that I really needed to keep it. And those are the ones I went out and weeded. So that's pretty much what I did. If there were multiple copies of the same book, I would just go out and pick, I'd keep one. If it was remotely popular, I'd keep one and then I'd weed the other one. But I had to go out to the shelves to do that, to see which one, was in the best condition, which one I truly wanted to keep. Okay, now you've seen how to do the computer side of it. So I printed out those reports. I literally spent a lot of time just sitting at my desk, highlighting every single book that had not been checked out, that had 0 checkouts. But I kind of took other things into consideration. If the book was newer, I didn't weed it right away. If I knew I could promote it more, if it was going to be in a new place in the library, some books I put in a different category because maybe it was in I don't know, forensic science, but I realized it was more like a true crime kind of book, and I could put it in our like little true crime section. So if I locate it, maybe it'll get checked out more. So I didn't necessarily read every single book that had 0 checkouts, just like a lot of them. I also realized that many of these books would be better in individual teachers' classrooms, and they actually might get used there because some of the teachers still do research possibly using books. Like in AP classes, we have a lot of books that were like various viewpoints called like differing, perspectives or differing viewpoints or something. And it would be like essays on a certain topic with like different perspectives on that topic. And I thought, some teachers might actually really truly use that. I even had like a book on police brutality or something. And it was like different viewpoints and different essays. And we have a police studies class now at our school. So, and like a whole little pathway. So I thought, I'll give that to that teacher because he could actually use it. I also got rid of a ton of basically all of our AP test prep books. I kept the ACT prep books because I think even if they're older, they're still going to be relevant. But some of the AP books were way outdated and actually like literally harmful to students because they are so inaccurate as to what the test is like currently. So I ditched those. The rest of them I gave to the teachers that teach those AP classes because unfortunately students nowadays are not really seeking out extra test prep here in the library, but the teachers might be able to copy practice questions, things like that their students could use truly like in their classrooms. So the final question, just kind of the way I'm going to end this whole thing is, now what do you do? You've weeded 2,000 plus books, let's say, or however many. What do you do with them? Well, I was in a very unique situation in that I could not do anything with them except pretty much throw them away. Now you could definitely try donating them. I'm going to give you some ideas here in just a minute, but because we're moving schools, we had to get rid of everything. We could not take this stuff with us, and I had like a month to do something with them. And so my school obviously could not like transport all these books somewhere. So it was either me figuring out a way to transport them, which I didn't have the time or energy to do, unfortunately. I couldn't, I just don't have time outside of school to do that. Or I did have some students help. Some students actually did help me donate some things throughout the community. So that was really good. Like one of our students is in charge of like Key Club and Environmental Club. Like she helped and gave them away to some different organizations. So that was really helpful. But here are some ideas I got from online. I sent out an email to every librarian in the state asking for some help about what to do with all these weeded books. And here are the responses I got. I got the response, don't stress too much about it, like from James Allen, just throw them away. I've got the response that school libraries are not museums and they do require regular reading. So if it's not great for your collection, it's probably not great to donate them necessarily either. I also got a link to a website about how to recycle books and magazines and finding places that will take them for recycling. Just giving them away, letting students and staff have them. Trust me, I tried. We got rid of as many as we could. Eventually, they don't even want free books anymore. 4-H directors asking for books, so you could check with like 4-H camps, especially if you're more at like an elementary or middle school level probably. So there's different like local detention centers. That would be pretty interesting. Free book fairs, because I don't think, at least in Kentucky, I don't know about other states, but like I think per the Red Book policies and all that, you can't sell the books because taxpayers paid for them to start with. Like the taxpayers are paying for, the schools to have these budgets. And if you're selling them, you're selling their own stuff back to them. So like you can't do that. I also got responses like dumpster, Goodwill, International Book Project in Lexington. So I'm sure, if you have a place like that near where you live, that they might send books overseas to countries that need them. Donating them to your public library. Delivering them to a public library nearby, but they required that you take the books to them, and we couldn't do that. So checking with your recycling centers, checking with your art department. We did save some for book projects as well, and we saved some of the ones that were in really good condition to actually use for like giving away for little contests and prizes and things like that. Senior centers, now maybe the YA titles wouldn't be as good, or but they might like some of the nonfiction for sure. Homeless shelters, domestic violence shelters, dumpster, juvenile detention center, prisons, halfway houses, shelters, local transfer station that handles recycling, and every student gets to pick some of their own. So a lot of different things. Sometimes I just put a cart in the hallway too. We do have to get it approved through our school what we do with the books. So I would suggest making sure you check with your school on the policy to get rid of the books. We should have to have every single book in the school that we wanted to get rid of from any department approved by the entire school board. And we had to send it to like the board agenda. We had to send a list. I had to even send a plan of what I wanted to do with the weeded books, like giving them away or using them for art, or just throwing them in the dumpster. School property, and now they have been properly like disposed of. Sorry, I had to pause. Now I'll tell you bye, but my husband had to call and tell me that he had to go back to Walmart and get some socks that he left at the checkout counter. So that's kind of funny. It was $30 worth of socks, so like I'm glad he went back. So if you have any ideas for weeding books, or, you know, new ways to promote nonfiction in a fun way, or to organize them or whatever, we do have ours organized kind of by genre, which I should do a whole video about how we organize our nonfiction, because it's really interesting, where there's like genres or like categories kind of, and then there are subcategories for each one. The old librarian before me actually is the one that did it, but I think it's a really awesome system. I'll do a video about that one day, I promise. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down below if you have any more questions. Hopefully that's kind of covered everything, and good luck with your weeding journey. You can do it. Just let those books go.